This program is brought to you by the National Association of Insurance and Financial Advisors, promoting political advocacy, education, and the ethical conduct of its members nationwide.
Hello, my name is Robin Mueller. We just wrapped up with Hour 2 of Ethics, which consisted of some case studies, but mostly we spent time on defining what suitability is and the 15 steps to getting to and through suitability. We spent some time also on talking about the imperfect storm, the senior demographics, the vulnerable adults, and then of course we talked about fiduciaries and the word professional and what that means, our social responsibility, as well as some other talking points. As we begin Hour 3 now, it'll focus all on case studies. Let me make a statement first as it relates to case studies. The general stability of our society depends on the willingness of individuals to act responsibly. I'm going to ask that question again and then ask for your yay or nay on that. The general stability of our society depends on the willingness of individuals to act responsibly. Do you agree or disagree with that statement?
Agree. Yeah.
You bet. And it's consistent wherever I go across the country. So what we're going to do is do case studies here, and we're going to go through about 10 case studies. And what you want to do is spend time individually on these case studies. It'll take anywhere between 10, 12, 15 minutes. And know this, with any one of these case studies, if you change the word, just one word, it could change the meaning. So what we're really looking for here is that you don't read anything into it. It's as you see it. And from there you commit to an answer, either yes or no, and then why. None of this depends stuff. Either yes or no, and then why. After we finish the individual time, we'll break into small groups, groups of about 4, if possible, works best. And obviously, the bigger the audience, the more you might have in a small group. We're not trying any small groups to get to a consensus. Oftentimes what happens is you'll have 3 individuals in a group of 4 that believe one way and 1 that doesn't, and you find those 3 trying to work on that individual, trying to get them to see it their way, and that's really not the intent. In the end of the small groups, the intent is to open everyone's mind, make them think a little bit. You will find that as we large group discussion these, because after the small groups we large group discussion them. So then why the small groups? Because some people are very uncomfortable speaking in a large group, but they're not in a small group. So that's why we start with the individual studies, moving it to small group, and then the large group discussion. And so we find that when we regroup into the large group, that some people misunderstand or maybe have misread the question of the case study. That sometimes they do change their answers, but mostly they see the other person's point of view clearer. And I think that that's the real intent of doing these case studies. So with that, let me share the 10 case studies first. Number 1, agent earns commissions selling for Company A for 4 years. Agent leaves Company A to sell for Company B, a company rated higher than Company A. Agent replaces clients sold with Company A over to Company B. Is this ethical? And the answer would either be yes, no, and then why. The second case study. An individual can afford to purchase long-term care insurance but chooses not to. This same individual has a high net worth. This individual gives away the assets, thereby qualifying for Title 19 or Medicaid. Is this ethical? Yes, no, and why? For the facilitators, be prepared for some real heated discussion on case study number 2. Number 3, an individual arrives late to a continuing education class. During the 4-hour session, this individual does other work not related to the class. Is this ethical? Yes, no, and why? And the second trailer of that is, if you were the moderator of the class, what would you do? Number 4, a property and casualty agent has a contract with a company that allows her to offer 3 different rates to her clients. The lowest rate also pays the smallest commission. A prospect calls and asks for the best rate the agent has. The agent offers the prospect the middle rate. Is this ethical? Yes, no, or why? Number 5. An agent sells only variable life insurance, yet doesn't believe in permanent insurance. Is this ethical? Yes, no, or why? And let me just elaborate on that, because I have been in audiences that primarily consist of property and casualty agents, and if that's the case, they may not know this, but everyone that is in the life insurance business understands what I'm about to say. There are only 2 types of life insurance in the world: term insurance and permanent insurance. Period. Only 2, term and permanent. Variable life insurance is a form of permanent insurance. Then the case study: an agent sells only variable life insurance, yet doesn't believe in permanent insurance. Is this ethical? Yes, no, and why? There are times an employee has to keep unpleasant information from the boss. If I learned my coworkers didn't like my boss, I'd keep it to myself. Since management's goals are carefully developed, I should take whatever steps are necessary to achieve them. One of your clients has submitted a claim and it is not paid to the client's satisfaction. She is extremely upset. What are some of the ways that you can handle this in a most professional/ethical way? Agent chooses to do CE online. He takes a 12-hour class and finishes it in 2 hours. Is this ethical? And my absolute favorite, off the insurance, but the passion in the room is fascinating. Your neighbor owns a dog. They take the dog for walks around the neighborhood. The dog, blank, 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 S, on your lawn. They look around to see if anyone's looking. They see no one and continue on their way. Is this ethical? Yes, no, and why? What they don't know is that you saw the whole thing. What do you do? And for the facilitators, the passion is unbelievable between dog owners and non-dog owners. So brace yourself. Those are the 10. Now, by now you've concluded with your individual case study work as well as your small group discussion. And so now we bring it to a large group discussion. And let me just ask a number of questions. Did these case studies make you think?
Yes.
Did any of you misread or misunderstand the question or the premise? Did any of you change your answers? And let me ask you this, were most of you able to see the other's point of view clearer? Beginning with number 1, case study number 1. Now, again, I specifically asked for a yes or a no answer, and then to be able to back it up with why you would answer that way. These here are simply some answers that I've heard along the way on each one of these case studies, just to get you started or to get you finished or to add some other dialogue to your large group discussion. Number 1, agent earns commissions selling for Company A for 4 years. Agent leaves Company A to sell for Company B, a company rated higher than Company A. Now, I didn't say this in the original premise, but know that a company rated higher means that Company B has higher claims paying ability than Company A. Agent replaces client sold with Company A over to Company B. Is this ethical? The answers were yes, no, or why. And you know, we've asked you not to say depends. Some would immediately say that it's not ethical, that this is churning. But I might challenge that, and I'm just going to put it out there, is that churning normally would be if we added a Company C and a Company D. This is simply going from one company to the other. However, some would say it's not ethical because they're replacing all the clients. Well, it doesn't say all. Agent replaces clients sold with Company over. So do we assume that they're all the clients or not all the clients? And if it is all the clients, then does it make it not ethical, or is it just selective? Certainly, the comments have come up that maybe it's the client's decision. They can do what they want, and that is accurate, by the way. Does the agent have the right to let the client know that they're with a different company? It begs the non-compete clause. Check with your state on how they rule on the non-compete clause, these companies. Some of them are a little bit different, and it would be important for you to understand that. Others would say, look, I can do it. If the company's rated higher, better claims paying ability, it's better for the client, so I can do it. So there's no one maybe set answer. It depends upon where that particular agent is coming from. On case study number 2, an individual can afford to purchase long-term care insurance, but chooses not to. This same individual has a high net worth. This individual gives away the assets, thereby qualifying for Title 19 or Medicaid. What I didn't say in the earlier premise, for some of you, you may know that Medicaid or Title 19 is also called medical assistance. Still others of you would call it welfare. So this one really stokes up a lot of emotion because the following question, and is this ethical? Yes, no, or why? And some individuals say absolutely ethical. The law allows it, and most of you know that there's a 5-year look back. But the law allows that you can give away your assets. But the question doesn't read, is it legal? The question is it ethical? And then yes, no, and why? Some would say, well, it's personal choice. I can do what I want with my money. Well, and then we begin to explore that a little bit further. What are you leaving it to your children? Should that matter what you do with your money, depending upon what side of this argument you take? Some would say, you know what, I think it's very unethical if you leave it to your children. However, if you give it to charity, not being children, that would be, then we think it is ethical. Interesting. Others would still say, look, I have a high net worth because I earned more money than the average person. Therefore, if I've earned more money, I've paid more in taxes. Because I've paid more in taxes, I've prepaid my way into Medicaid. Still others would come back and say, well, look, have you ever spent time in a Medicaid wing? So it all depends on what side you come from. But again, these are just some ideas and thoughts to get you continuing the discussion or to add to the discussion. The third case study. Excuse me. An individual arrives late to a CE class. During the 4-hour session, this individual does work not related to the class. Is this ethical? Yes, no, or why? Well, it'll be interesting because there's really 2 issues going on here. An individual arrives late to a CE class. What does late mean? That's relative. Some people think they can be 5 minutes late. That's not late. Others think they can be 10 minutes late. That's not late. Others say when a door is closed, you're late. Is it a minute late? Shouldn't you be 5 minutes early? So that's really the first premise. What does it really mean? And it's on you as a facilitator to monitor that. If you're doing a 50-minute session and you walk in 20 minutes late, which is almost half of that CE hour, do you allow them credit? And your state has specific rules on this. So, very, very important. The second piece is during the 4-hour session, this individual does other work not related to the class. Isn't that interesting? The question then is this ethical? If they have other work that's more important than CE, why are they at that CE class? But you'd be surprised. So hopefully in your housekeeping, in the very beginning of each session, you set your housekeeping and what the state rules are. Second piece, if you were the moderator of the class, what would you do? Very interesting, the responses you see on this. Some look the other way. Others would ask them to leave. Others would give them a warning first. And upon the second time, ask them to leave. And still others, give them 3 opportunities and 3 strikes, and you're out. So again, just to further the dialogue. The fourth case study. A property and casualty agent has a contract with a company that allows her to offer 3 different rates to the clients. The lowest rate also pays the smallest commission. A prospect calls and asks for the best rate the agent has. The agent offers the prospect the middle rate. Is this ethical? Yes, no, or why? It leans on one word. Best. Everyone understands what the lowest rate is, assuming lowest premium. But what does the best rate imply? Does that mean it's the lowest? Or does it talk about benefits and the benefits and coverages and definitions for the client? The agent offers the prospect the middle rate. Is it ethical? Some say it is. Some say, I can't afford to stay in business selling the least expensive rate or the cheapest rate. They want the least expensive or the cheapest rate, go down the street. Okay, they'll sell it to you. I won't. I can't keep my doors open. Others think, absolutely, it's not ethical. So, again, just to further the dialogue. Case study number 5. An agent sells only variable life insurance yet doesn't believe in permanent insurance. Is this ethical? And this is interesting. Because your audience, most of them, should know the difference between permanent insurance and term insurance, and that variable life insurance is a form of permanent insurance. And now you have an agent that doesn't believe in permanent insurance, yet is selling it. So is it ethical or not? Is it ethical? Is it ethical to sell what you don't own? Because you don't own it because you don't believe in it. Or do you have to take yourself away from it and take care of the client's needs? Suitability, what we talked about in the second hour of this ethics class. Very interesting. Case study number 6. There are times an employee has to keep unpleasant information from the boss. I gave that one away, didn't I, by focusing on the word unpleasant. If I learned my coworkers didn't like my boss, I'd keep it to myself. Well, there's two premises here. You either agree or disagree with the first one. So, there are times an employee has to keep unpleasant information from the boss. True or false? You either agree with that or you disagree with it. Okay? Assuming you agree with it, then if I learned my coworkers didn't like my boss, I'd keep it to myself. You either agree or you disagree with that. What does unpleasant mean? Is it simply their hair is bad, their breath is bad, they're grumpy? Is that unpleasant? Now back to the premise. There are times an employee has to keep unpleasant information from the boss. Okay? Then they spin it a little bit. If I learn my coworkers didn't like my boss. Well, why don't they like your boss? Because their breath is bad? Because they always are in a foul mood? Okay? So we got to discover that. What does unpleasant really mean? And let me take it a step further. There are some buildings that say leave your firearms on the outside. But you know your boss brings the firearm inside. That's unpleasant. Can it now harm some people? Okay? And now you're putting them in a more dangerous situation. So that's an interesting case study. Another one, which would be case study number 7. Since management goals are carefully developed, I should take whatever steps are necessary to achieve them. Well, one premise. Are management's goals carefully developed? And that's for you in the class to decide. Are they? Maybe, maybe not. But it'll be interesting to see what comes out of class. Okay? Then, you either agree with that premise or you don't. And then, I should take whatever steps are necessary to achieve them. What does whatever mean? Does that mean you're willing to work 15 hours a day to make those goals that are carefully developed? Or does that mean you'll do anything unethical or illegal to make those goals? Case study number 8. One of your clients has submitted a claim and has not paid to the client's satisfaction. That never happens. She is extremely upset. What are some of the ways that you can handle this in a most professional or ethical way? Now, those of you that have participated in Hour 2, we talked a little bit about that word professional and what it meant. Those of you that participated in Hour 1, we've defined what ethics are. So, let me just start out with this, okay? Let me read it again. What are some of the ways that you can handle this in a most professional, ethical way? Put them on hold! And I'm absolutely delighted that some of you are laughing because it's meant to be a joke. Can you imagine that? One of your clients has submitted a claim and it's not paid to their satisfaction, which never happens. But assuming it did, she's extremely upset. What are some ways you can handle it in the most professional, ethical way? You put them on hold. That'll pump them up for sure. So, obviously, we go right back to some of the things that have come up. And it would be interesting with the dialogue in the room, but you want to listen to them. You obviously want to research why the claim was not paid to their satisfaction. You do want to follow up, and you want to follow up on a timely basis, and certainly, and this is key, you never want to overpromise. Okay? Underpromise, overdeliver. Underpromise and overdeliver. Case study number 9, agent chooses to do CE online. For those of you that were in Hour 1, we talked about one case study about agents spending an hour in a 15-hour class and signing out. That was a live class. We're spinning this just a little bit differently, talking about now doing it online. An agent chooses to do CE online. He takes a 12-hour class and finishes it in 2 hours. Is this ethical? And I wish I could be a fly on the wall in every one of your sessions on this. Okay? Some agents would say absolutely it's ethical. The state allows it. Okay, well, that's the mandate by the state. They allow it. So that means that's the law. But I didn't ask if it's legal. I asked if it's ethical. You say you're going to take 12 hours. I'm aware you can test out. If you pass your test out, you pass, you get it done in 2 hours, fine, you met their mandate. But is it ethical? What did you learn? As one example, I had an individual in class one time. He said, yep, and that's where this case study comes from. I did my 12 hours online in 2 hours, and my question was, what did you learn? I reinforced exactly what I knew, and I said, that's right. What did you learn? And ladies and gentlemen, he didn't learn anything. He reinforced what he already knew. I submit to you, he wasted his time. But I'm aware that some states allow it. So let me take it a step further. You're getting ready to go into a procedure in 2 weeks with your doctor. And your doctor is going to Hawaii next week to get some CE on this particular procedure that they're going to do, because it's one of the first times he's ever going to perform it. And while in Hawaii during the CE day, he signs in and then decides to take in some of the sites over there in Hawaii. At the end of the day, comes back and signs out that he was there, but he never was. Do you want that doctor performing that procedure on you the following Monday? And finally, your neighbor owns a dog. Let me ask you in the room, how many of you in the room own a dog? Show of hands. All right. How many of you treat that dog like family? All right. Would you ever let your child out on your neighbor's lawn to do their business? And I think we all know the answer. Of course you wouldn't. All right. But your neighbor owns a dog. They take the dog for walks around the neighborhood. Good. The dog, and this is key, count them, 4 blanks with an S. That's up to your imagination. They look around to see if, by the way, that your dog, 4 blanks with an S on your lawn. They look around to see if anyone's looking. They see no one and continue on their way. Is it ethical? Yes, no, or why? Some would say, of course it's not ethical, but it's really not an ethical question. It speaks to character. Okay, what do you think you do, or what are you going to do when you don't think no one's looking? The key here is what they didn't know is that you saw the whole thing. What do you do? So we've been through 10 case studies here, and hopefully just a little discussion after each one to continue your dialogue in your small and large group discussions, or to get it started in particular case studies was helpful. And I want to close with this. By the way, let me give you just a couple other thoughts. The key here is to go in your own direction. All you have to do is look around. There are ethical stories all around us all the time. All the time. You just got to keep your eyes open to them. But I want to give you just a couple more thoughts. The person that has a great income, okay, well into the 6-figure income, yet they continually to declare bankruptcy every time they have a chance to. Is that one ethical? And when I've done that in class, the passion in that is very profound. Almost as much as it is in case study number 2 with the long-term care one. Another one, the person who smokes all their life, and they clearly know that it's dangerous for them to do it. Now they get cancer, lung cancer, and now they're suing a cigarette manufacturer for millions. Is that ethical? That they knew that it was wrong, still continue to do it, and now they're suing. And let me give you another one that I'm told happens a lot, but I would question your integrity. There's a non-tobacco question on the application. There's a friend of yours, and last month you went to a ball game and you were smoking a cigar. Now he's applying for insurance, and you simply ask him one question: do you use tobacco? He says no, yet you saw him do it within the last month. Do you check that box no? Or do you check it yes? In conclusion on this session, Tara, John, Andy, what I'm going to illustrate here, you're seeing for the first time. Count up how many squares you see and let me know. When you think you have the answer, let me know. 16? 16. 17.
25. Yeah, it's getting way up.
25?
26. I got 26.
26?
Oh, wait. At least 26. Oh, there's 27, 28, 29, 30.
How many?
I think I'm at 30.
30. We'll stop there. All right, let's go through. Please tell me, everyone in this room sees the 16, yes? Okay. Everyone sees the big one, correct?
Yep.
Okay. So 16, 17 for sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Everybody still with me? Yes or no?
Yep.
6, 7, 8, 9. So there are 9 squares with 4. And everybody sees 4 with 9. 4 squares with 9. And this is how I conclude the session. The answer is 30. Isn't it interesting that at the same time, you all looked at this? At the exact same time, and I asked you one question. How many squares do you see? When you think you have the answer, yell it out. And we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different answers. Let me assure you, you're going to get a lot more when you have a bigger audience. I stop when I hear the correct one, and then I'll have that person come up and point out the 30. Some would say, Robin, why are you even putting this in an ethics class? Well, it has everything to do with case studies. Isn't it interesting that you all looked at those case studies at the exact same time? And yet, look at how many different answers we came up with. Admittedly, I asked you to come up with a yes or a no. But look at all the reasons, different reasons we came up with to get that yes or that no answer. And I think it speaks volumes to ethics, that in fact, we all can look at the same thing at the exact same time, but perhaps see something different. This concludes the third hour of ethics case studies. Thank you.
Thank you for participating in this program. For more information regarding products, programs, services, and other NAFA member benefits, visit www.nafa.org.